Welcome to the History Stories podcast. Get ready for an exciting historic road trip. We uncover the wildest, most captivating tales straight from history books and uncovered sources. Forget the usual suspects. Today, we're really getting into the story of a military commander who reshaped continents but, well, remains largely unknown, Subotai, Genghis Khan's dog of war.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We've got quite a stack of history books and uncovered sources here on Subotai. And our mission today basically is to pull out the most important, maybe the most surprising insights for you all. Think of it like getting the real inside scoop on the guy behind some of history's most, well, devastating conquests.
Absolutely. You probably know Genghis Khan, maybe even a few of his other generals, right? But Subotai, he seems to be the strategic brains, the operational shadow orchestrating these massive victories across Eurasia. We're going to unpack his incredible story and, try to figure out why someone this influential isn't a household name. Prepare for some serious, wait, that actually happened, moments.
Okay, let's dive in then. Picture the world. Early 13th century. Eurasia. It wasn't dominated by one single power. Not at all. You had the Jin dynasty in northern China. They were rich, sophisticated, sure, but maybe a little slow on the uptake militarily.
Complacent, maybe?
Could be. Then further west, the Khwarezmian Empire. Huge on the map, but full of internal divisions, really unstable.
And Kiev on Rus is, right, not really a unified state, just a bunch of principalities, always bickering, more worried about their neighbors than some threat from the steppe.
Exactly. And then there's feudal Europe. Knights in shining armor, powerful locally, but their armies, slow to gather, kind of predictable in their tactics.
So a real patchwork, fragmented, and nobody saw the storm coming from the north.
Pretty much. And this fragmentation, this is key. It was a massive vulnerability. And it seems like Subotai, or at least the Mongol command structure he was part of, understood this perfectly. His campaigns often involved multiple armies hitting different targets simultaneously across enormous distances. We're talking hundreds, even thousands of kilometers.
Imagine the chaos that creates. Slow communication back then. How could anyone react effectively?
They couldn't really. It played right into the Mongols' hands. Their speed, their coordination, it exploited that fractured landscape perfectly.
Right. And into this mix steps Temujin. Around 1206, he becomes Genghis Khan. He does something revolutionary, unites the Mongol tribes. But it's not just another nomadic confederation. This was like a war machine built on loyalty, brutal discipline, and meritocracy, right?
That's a huge point. Meritocracy. It was a revolution in warfare itself. Loyalty to Genghis was paramount, sure, but talent, bravery, that could get you promoted, regardless of your birth. Leadership wasn't just inherited anymore, it was earned.
So when Subotai joins this new force, he's basically joining a military revolution in progress.
Exactly. He's stepping into this highly efficient, disciplined, and merit-based system that's poised to change everything.
And we see this pretty dramatically with the Great Raid, don't we? From 1220 to 1223.
Oh, absolutely. Subotai and another brilliant general, Jebe, they lead what seems like a small force, maybe 20,000 cavalry, and their mission sounds impossible. Hunt down the fleeing Shah of Khwarezm.
But they do so much more than just chase him.
Way more. They effectively circle the Caspian Sea. They smash armies in Persia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, just carving a path through established powers.
And then they pop up north of the Black Sea.
Yep. And that leads to the Battle of Kelka River in 1223. This relatively small Mongol detachment faces a much larger combined army of Rus's princes and their Cuman allies.
And it's a masterclass in deception, isn't it?
Totally. Subotai orchestrates this 9-day feigned retreat, pulls them further and further out, plays on their overconfidence.
Draws them into a trap.
Precisely. Then they wheel around and just annihilate the coalition. Complete destruction.
So what was the reaction across Eurasia initially? Immediate panic?
Actually, no. Not really panic. More like baffled incomprehension. People just couldn't figure it out. Who were these guys? Where did they come from? How could they move so fast and just win against armies that should have crushed them? It didn't make sense.
Right. It defied their whole understanding of war. But that bewilderment didn't last, did it?
No, it shifted dramatically. In the late 1230s and especially 1241, when the full-scale Mongol invasions hit Russes and then Poland and Hungary, this time it was Batu Khan nominally in charge, but the planning, the strategy that had Subotai's fingerprints all over it.
And this time, the reaction was different.
Oh, yes. Bewilderment turned into absolute existential terror. You read the Rus's chronicles. Devastation, cities burned to ash, populations wiped out. It's horrifying.
And European accounts, like Master Roger in Hungary.
Apocalyptic. He writes about it like the end of the world. burning cities, indiscriminate slaughter, people hiding in forests, starving, just sheer terror.
That's where the name Tartars comes from, right? Linking them to Tartarus, to hell.
Exactly. It wasn't just a name. It was trying to process something incomprehensible. They saw them as the scourge of God, this demonic force you couldn't possibly understand rationally.
But here's the crucial mistake, isn't it? Seeing them only as a mindless horde.
That's the critical failure in understanding, yes. The brutality was real, undeniable.
Yeah.
But Subotai's campaigns weren't mindless at all. They relied on meticulous intelligence gathering, long-range coordination that was just unheard of. Siege engineers used in field battles, not just sieges. Complex logistics to keep those armies moving.
So dismissing them as just barbarians blinded their opponents. They couldn't see the military genius, the revolution in warfare Subotai was leading.
Precisely. They couldn't grasp the tactics, the speed, the adaptability, and so they couldn't counter it effectively.
How is this remembered today? Does Subotai feature prominently?
It varies. In Russia, Hungary, Poland, it's remembered as a deep national trauma. The start of the Tatar yoke in Russia, foundational catastrophes in Hungary and Poland. Though interestingly, Batu Khan is often the name people remember more directly from that period. Subotai, the planner, is often overshadowed.
But the historical scar is definitely there. Yet elsewhere, he's relatively obscure.
Surprisingly so, yeah. Which leads us back to that question. Why isn't this incredibly impactful figure better known? Let's keep digging.
Okay, so let's get into the theories surrounding Subotai himself. He's kind of shrouded in history and legend.
He really is. There's this popular origin story, right? Son of a simple blacksmith, Jarchigodai or Kaban, from the Uriankai people, the forest people, not natural horsemen.
Right, the ultimate outsider story. Proof of Mongol meritocracy. Joined Temujin around 14, had to learn writing, archery, the whole deal.
It's a great narrative. Fits perfectly with the meritocratic ideal Genghis was pushing. But when you look closer at the sources, it gets a bit more complicated. Well, it seems his family actually had long-standing ties to Temujin's lineage. His older brother, Gelmi, already a prominent general, a big name.
Ah, okay, so not exactly plucked from total obscurity.
Maybe not total obscurity. And there's that story about Subotai and Gelmi rescuing their father, Kaban, when he was captured. It highlights strong family bonds and loyalty that existed before Subotai's big rise.
So was the outsider story maybe amplified to sell the meritocracy angle?
Is definitely a possibility historians consider. Was the narrative tweaked to fit the ideology? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe humble beginnings, yes, but also existing family connections and loyalty playing a role.
It reflects that mix in the Mongol Empire itself, doesn't it? Meritocracy alongside valuing long-term loyalty.
Exactly. It's that blend. Now, what about his strategic ability? Was he just born a genius, or was he a product of that amazing Mongol military system?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
The accounts definitely highlight his innovative tactics, his adaptability. He constantly seemed one step ahead. But you can't separate that from the system he operated within. The cavalry, the discipline, the intelligence network, the focus on maneuver. It was an incredible military machine.
And his training. Learning under Genghis, and especially that partnership with Jebi during the Great Raid.
Crucial. Jebi was another brilliant commander. Was he a mentor figure? Probably. That raid must have been an intense learning experience.
So likely a combination again. Natural talent nurtured and amplified by the system through relentless campaigning and learning from the best.
That seems the most plausible explanation. Talent meets opportunity, meets an incredibly effective system.
Okay, let's circle back to the Great Raid itself. 1220, 1223. Was it just reconnaissance? Just hunting the Shah and gathering info?
That's the standard view, often presented that way. A long-range recon mission that achieves spectacular results.
But there's another theory. A darker one you mentioned.
Yes, a more chilling interpretation. Some historians argue it wasn't just recon. They suggest it was actually the deliberate first phase of a much larger plan.
A plan for what?
To conquer the Kipchak steppes first, and then, potentially Europe.
Whoa. Is there evidence for that?
There are passages that support it. The Yuan Shi, the official Chinese history of the Mongol dynasty, suggests Subotai actually subjugated the Kipchaks during the raid, not just scouted them. Rashid al-Din, the Persian historian, writes that Jebi and Subotai specifically asked Genghis for permission to conquer lands on their way back.
So not just chasing the Shah, but actively seeking conquest.
That's the implication. And another historian, Juvaini, even recounts Jebi explaining the Mongols' broader imperial ambitions to people they met early on.
If that's true,
Yeah.
it reframes the later invasion of Europe completely. Not a separate event, but the planned next step.
Exactly. A continuation of a long-term strategy conceived potentially years earlier.
Yeah.
It's hard to know for sure, of course. Mongol strategic planning was notoriously secretive.
Which really highlights the challenge of working with the sources, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Source criticism is everything here. We have the secret history of the Mongols invaluable, an insider view, but likely biased towards glorifying the ruling family.
Then Rashid al-Din's work incredibly detailed, drawing on many sources, but written from the perspective of a later Mongol successor state in Persia. It has its own agenda.
Right, and the European accounts, Matthew Paris, Plano Carpini, Master Roger, they give you that visceral sense of terror, but they're often based on rumor, fear, and a limited understanding of who the Mongols actually were.
So you have to triangulate. Read between the lines, acknowledge the biases. The true Subotai is always going to be a bit elusive.
And sometimes the stories that arise are just wild, like that gloriously unhinged theory you mentioned, the corpse tower of Shimaka.
Yeah, the idea of building a siege tower out of dead bodies.
Is it true? Who knows? It might be a legend born from pure terror. But even as a legend, it tells you something powerful about the psychological impact Subotai's campaigns had. People believed they were capable of such things.
So his legacy goes way beyond just battle tactics. It's about changing warfare, leaving these deep cultural scars.
Definitely. Militarily, his innovations, or perhaps his perfection of existing tactics, were groundbreaking. Speed, maneuver, surprise, envelopment, striking deep, concentrating firepower, relentless pursuit.
You said earlier it sounds like modern warfare.
The parallels are striking. Things like German blitzkrieg, Soviet deep battle doctrine, even modern concepts like airland battle. You can see echoes of Subotai's approach. That focus on speed, disruption, breaking the enemy's cohesion, not just grinding them down.
He was brilliant at integrating everything the Mongols already did well. Horsemanship, archery, endurance, discipline, and adding layers of strategy, intelligence, psychological warfare.
And adapting technology, like using siege engines in field battles at Mohi, that was innovative.
It all stems from that unique nomadic society, but he translated it into this unstoppable military doctrine.
And the way he's remembered reflects the trauma. We talked about Russia, Hungary, Poland, national trauma, foundational events, even if Batu is sometimes the bigger name in memory.
In China, it's different, right? Part of the story of the Jin dynasty falling, the Yuan rising, more complex historical transition.
Right. In Mongolia itself, he's a national hero, up there with Genghis.
And the Islamic world remembers the devastation. Khwarezm, the cities sacked during the Great Raid, reflected in historians like Rashid al-Din.
It really shows how conflict shapes identity and memory. He's a hero or a demon, depending entirely on where you stand.
And then there's the bizarre pop culture footprint, Subotai in Conan the Barbarian, as a thief.
Yeah, Hyrcanian thief, absolutely zero connection to the real guy, but the name stuck somehow. Shows how history gets distorted or just repurposed. And of course, his influence is probably all over strategy games with Mongol factions.
It's still weird how obscure he became in the West for so long, considering his impact.
It really is, overshadowed by the cons. It took 20th century military historians digging into the campaigns to go, wait a minute, this guy was revolutionary. That gap between impact and fame is huge.
Okay, let's hit some of those deep cuts, the specific, really cool details, the did you know ammo.
All right, the origin story again. Born c. 1175, son of a blacksmith, Jarchiguri Guban, or Yangkai tribe. Joined Temujin around 14, and that story of rescuing his father with his brother Jelmi.
And the yurt guard role. Being a door guard for Genghis's Joe seems humble, but puts him right at the center, hearing the strategy sessions.
Exactly. Proximity to power. Yeah. And his pledge. I will ward off your enemies as felt cloth protects one from the wind. Very evocative.
The Dog of War title we mentioned before, Jebi, Kublai, Yelmi, Subotai, and that quote from The Secret History.
Yeah, foreheads of brass, their jaws are like scissors. They devour enemy flesh, unleashed, and they slobber at the mouth with glee. Intense imagery, designed to inspire fear.
And his early mastery of deception, that first command against the Merkits in 1197, only 22.
Sneaking into their camp alone, pretending to be a deserter, convincing them the Mongols were far away, then bam, attack, incredible nerve.
And leaving kids' toys behind in 1219 to fake a disorganized retreat against the Merkits and Kipchaks, genius.
Pure psychological warfare. Made the enemy complacent, led them right into an ambush.
Okay, the Great Raid again. 5,500 miles over 3 years. Crossing the Caucasus by tricking guides. Kalka River's 9-day retreat. And the aftermath. Crushing the captured princes under the feast platform. Brutal.
Mstislav III of Kiev among them. A very clear message about the price of resistance.
And the maybe mythical Corks Tower at Shimaka. Still gives me chills just thinking about it.
True or not, it speaks volumes about the terror they inspire.
China, conquering the Jin dynasty. He was involved early on, wasn't he? Battle of Yuhuling.
Yes, and scaling walls at Huan. But the real knockout blow was 1234, that incredible flanking maneuver, marching south through southern Song territory, technically neutral or even hostile, crossing the Han River, popping up behind the main Jin army. Completely unexpected.
Leading to the Battle of Sanfingshan, wiping out the Jin field army. Strategic masterpiece.
Absolutely. Then Europe burns, 1242. Years of intelligence gathering beforehand, not spontaneous.
The five-fingered punch. Simultaneous invasions. That speed, 180 miles in 3 days. How is that even possible with cavalry?
Mongol ponies, incredible endurance, changing horses, ruthless pace. They were built for speed.
And Mohi, April 11th, 1241. Using siege weapons like artillery to clear the bridge.
Yeah, trebuchets or catapults firing across the river, then the secret pontoon bridge overnight. Encirclement, leaving that deliberate gap.
To make them run, right, into the waiting horse archers.
Exactly. A calculated slaughter. Maximize destruction, minimize Mongol casualties, relentless pursuit.
And using Karash human shields. A grim tactic.
Very grim. Common in siege warfare, but using it in field campaigns shows a certain ruthlessness.
In the halt, Europe's luckiest day. Ugadi Khan dies back in Karakorum, December 1241.
Princes had to go back for the election. Subotai reportedly wanted to keep going. Austria, Italy, Germany, France. Who knows how far they might have gone.
Wow. Okay, his command style. Adaptable, intelligence-driven, pioneer of mission command, trusting his subordinates.
Seems so. He couldn't micromanage armies spread over hundreds of miles. He gave objectives, trusted commanders like Batu Khan, though with him, Subotai was the senior strategist under royal authority. Kadin, Orda to execute.
That relationship with Batu, experienced strategist under the royal prince, some tension there later.
Sources suggest maybe some friction, leading to Subotai eventually being reassigned, politics within the empire.
So this image of humility and loyalty, but also utter ruthlessness, a complex figure.
Very, and he kept going. The old dog's last fight, campaigning against the Southern Song in his 70s, 1246, 1247.
Still active. The papal envoy Giovanni da Pian del Carpian saw him then.
Yes, in Karakorum. Still highly respected, called Bakatu hero or valiant warrior.
And then died peacefully, 1248, around 72 or 73, near the Toul River, after almost 60 years of war. Incredible.
When you list it all out, the geography, the different opponents, the consistent success, Jin China, Khwarezm, Persia, Caucasus nations, Russ's principalities, Cumans, Poland, Hungary, Southern Song. It's arguably the most impactful, wide-ranging military career in history.
So what's the takeaway here? What does it all mean?
Well, I think Subotai's story is just a huge reminder, isn't it? That history's full of these figures who massively shape the world but kind of fly under the radar in popular memory. He was the ultimate military professional, the master strategist behind the terrifying effectiveness of that whole Mongol war machine.
It's mind-boggling. A blacksmith's son, maybe, rising to command armies that redrew the map of half the world. His tactics, his campaigns, they left a mark on military history that people are still studying today. The echoes are there.
Yeah, we really hope this historic road trip into Subotai's life gave you some of those aha moments, a new appreciation for this guy who's often just a footnote.
What really stands out to you listening? Is it the scale, the obscurity? Does his lack of fame surprise you as much as it does us? We'd genuinely love to hear what you think.
And if your curiosity is fired up, if you want to dig deeper, we've compiled that curated curiosity cabinet for you. Links to key history books, those uncovered sources we mentioned, scholarly analysis, documentaries, online forums, even the Conan the Barbarian connection. Plenty to keep you exploring.
Definitely. And maybe something to think about this week. Subotai's ability to adapt, to learn, to just relentlessly pursue objectives across insane distances. There are lessons there beyond just the battlefield, right? About focus, planning, execution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's that final provocative thought to leave you with. If Subotai's campaigns were so impactful, reshaping continents and warfare itself, why isn't he as famous as Alexander or Caesar or Napoleon? What does that say about who we choose to remember in history and why? Whose stories get told and whose get lost? Something to mull over.
For sure. Well, thank you for joining us on this historic road trip. If you enjoyed diving into Subotai's story, please share it with a friend who loves a good historical puzzle. And please rate and follow the History Stories podcast for more captivating tales from the world of flash culture. Until next time.